Managing the band and the music during service is perhaps the most obvious part of worship leading when you first think about it. But there are important distinctions to be made about the interaction between the leader and the other musicians, or for brevity, the band, and even the music and songs itself. The first is this: the worship leader leads the music, not the other way around. I have seen worship leaders who play through 3 songs set to tracks on a metronome. They don't vary from any of the forms that are already pre-recorded. And as I have said before, this is essentially worship karaoke. It's very well executed, but it's karaoke. The music is leading, not the leader. I'm not saying that tracks are all bad. I use them from time to time, but I don't use them more than once in an entire service. The worship leader manages the music instead of the music managing them. It can be a pretty easy thing to create a situation where you're being managed by the music. And the most common example I see is this: the music manages the worship leader when they are not competent enough musicians to lead it. If you're playing guitar while leading and most of your focus is spent on trying to get through the chord changes and not the people in front of you, the music is managing you. You are leading outside of your ability, and your spiritual and practical leadership will suffer accordingly. Stay inside your ability until your ability can grow to match the song. If your team can play 100 songs and you can only lead 20 right now, stick to that 20. Practice during the week to grow your ability and add songs that you are competent in. The same thing applies to your voice. When I was young, I thought I could sing almost anything just because I could hit the notes. As I've gotten older, I have learned that different voices fit different songs and melody styles better. I have a big and strong, but not particularly agile voice. Give me long notes to hold and sing powerfully, I'm your guy. But give me a song with lots of grace notes and quick leaps and movement, it's not going to be as pleasant. I mean, I can sing them, but it doesn't sound as good as it does when other leaders at my church sing them. I can and do work on my voice to keep it in shape, but I am also comfortable playing to my strengths more often than not. Keep to your strengths and gird up your weaknesses, whether it be in your voice and or the instrument you lead with. That way you manage the music and not it you. For the worship leader to manage the music, it is important to note that songs serve your purposes, not the other way around. Too often, the worship leader feels that they have to do a song a certain way, a certain energy, a certain feel, build it up in the bridge the same way it is on the recording, etc. Then the song is actually really managing you. You managing the song means that you can combine, condense, or expand songs to fit where you feel the Spirit wants to go. I will create song medleys in preparation for the service from time to time, or even in the moment, add a bridge or a chorus from a completely different song into the one that I'm currently singing. I will cut out parts of songs, change musical transitions, and often intentionally break from the form on the recording. Songs are not sacred. Their forms are not sacred. There are songs with great verses and choruses and truly terrible bridges. Jettison the bridge and add a great one from another song. Make the song work for you and your purposes. Now, there is a pitfall to watch out for in this arena, and it can be avoided by remembering this rule. Simplicity mobilizes, complexity paralyzes. If you create this very musically cool but very complex medley of songs, the net result can be a congregation that is standing and staring at you instead of being caught up in worship. I've done it. Make sure that in your song tinkering that it mobilizes the congregation in worship. And especially in medleys that you are planning, think about how you will guide the congregation through the transitions from song parts. If done well, these can be powerful constructs. Music managing is also about understanding your role with the other musicians. Whether it be 2 or 10, the leader and the band need to have the proper perspective concerning their roles in worship. All of the musicians are servants of the congregation, and the band is subservient to the worship leader. The band supports the direction of the worship leader, and if the worship leader strikes out suddenly in a different direction than planned, the band doesn't ignore it, but immediately chases after, covering the change musically as best as possible. This ties into the previous point about being competent at your instrument, whether instrumentally or vocally. The worship leader has to be competent enough to have the freedom to change the plan in the moment and strike out in a new direction, song, or transition. If the worship leader is completely dependent on the band, it will hamper their ability to follow the Holy Spirit in the moment. If you play an instrument while leading and the Spirit directs you to go another way, go. The band will catch up to you. Signal them in some way if possible, but be okay with the fact that they might just drop out until they figure out what's going on. If you lead by just singing, the same rule applies. Just get comfortable with the idea of singing a cappella. Don't let the fact that you aren't playing anything interrupt the Spirit. Who cares ultimately if there is no band? Singing a cappella is a wonderful way to worship God. Go for it either way, and the chances are someone in the band will be able to catch up to you before long, or just accept the fact you might lead the congregation a cappella for that part. Regardless of the circumstances, always remember you are music managers. You are not managed by the music. Stay within your ability, master the song, don't be mastered by it, and have the courage to follow the Spirit, trusting that the other musicians will have your back and they will try their best to keep up.